but we may be seeing the formulation of a game plan and tactics from this training footage from Gervonta Davis.
Anybody that gets in the ring with Tank that is not a damn dinosaur is going to feel something from it. And
Gervonta Tank Davis has the boxing world buzzing after new training footage showed a terrifying transformation ahead of his clash with Jake Paul. The undefeated champion looks stronger, heavier, and more explosive than ever, a version fans are calling the most dangerous Tank yet. Known for his knockout power and calm intensity, Davis has always been a menace in the ring, but this time his physique and presence feel different. Gone is the lean lightweight look, he's bulked up with serious muscle, moving like a predator in perfect control. Every punch in that footage screams destruction, leaving fans wondering if Jake Paul just signed up to face a monster at his peak. Former contender Eddie Chambers warned Jake Paul not to underestimate Davis, calling him a smaller man with far deadlier skill. While Jake may have the advantage in height and power, Chambers said Tank's sharpness, speed, and knockout precision make him a nightmare for anyone. If you're not a monster yourself, Tank will make you look bad, he said, insisting that no amount of size will save Jake if Davis finds an opening.
I never want to get embarrassed, you know?
What you mean? How would you get embarrassed?
As far as like me not doing my job, don't mean like I'm not worrying about nobody else, because I know skill for skill, none of these guys can mess with me. Nobody. I feel like my skills is way better than like Floyd. Like if I'm on my game, well, I take it right hand in. But skill-wise, nobody on TV that's fighting right now have more skills than me. Nobody. Like talking about top to bottom list of fighters that's fighting on TV.
So what I gotta do with you being, I guess, embarrassing? Like, cause again, we see you make posts on story like the fight not happening. Like,
cause I don't never wanna, like me not doing my job like all the way, like me not training all the way, me not, you know. So that's what made me like. So I was supposed to been in camp, you know. I wasn't in camp. So all right.
Oh, okay.
It pissed me off so bad that I was like, all right, I don't even want to fight.
Davis sent chills through fans when he claimed he could take down a 300-pound man with no fighting experience. It doesn't matter how big he is, Tank said confidently. If he doesn't know how to fight, I can handle him. Skill beats size every time. Davis reminded everyone that boxing isn't about brute strength, it's timing, precision, and discipline. His message was clear: no giant can intimidate true skill.
But this is social media, this is what it's created. There's a lane that Jake Paul has created. Honestly, I'm not mad at him for it. He's gotten a lot of fighters and actual fighters some shine. It also has done for women's boxing a lot. So I'm not mad at him for what he's been in boxing and what he's created. This is a little crazy. This is a little crazy. And a lot of people will say, Tank is too small. Let me tell you something. Anybody that gets in the ring with Tank that is not a damn dinosaur is going to feel something from it. And it ain't going to be easy to hit him. Got boxing IQ. He may not sound like an intellectual guy when you hear him talk, but he knows the ring inside and out. So there's nothing that Jake Paul can do aside from make it extremely ugly by grabbing him and probably trying to throw him to the ground. I don't know what else, bite him. I don't know, but I mean, the skill level alone. Now, of course, there is a size difference, a height difference, and all that. But he's just going to struggle so much landing a shot. It's just going to look bad. To me, this is the way I see it. It's going to look bad. Tank is going to be too fast. And the punch, I believe, I'm not saying it's going to knock him out but he's gonna feel it.
Still, critics believe Davis is simply too small to beat Jake Paul. Standing 5 feet 5 inches and used to fighting around 135 pounds, he'll be giving up serious size and reach. No matter how muscular he looks, skeptics argue that physics don't lie, and Jake's natural 190-pound frame can take more punishment than Tank expects.
Right. Someone's like 250.
Yeah, probably like 250, 220 or some shit like that.
With no experience?
Yes, sir.
Someone with no experience?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, hell no. They gotta have experience to beat me.
No, but like a 300 guy, no experience.
I'm whooping that ass. I'm whooping that ass.
Fans are already comparing this bout to Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul, another battle of size versus skill. Like Floyd, Davis brings elite precision and IQ, while Jake relies on raw power and physicality. In that earlier exhibition, Logan's massive frame kept him upright, but Floyd's mastery controlled every round, a dynamic many expect to repeat when Tank meets Jake.
No. Who will win in this fight? Jake Paul or Tank Davis? It's a legit question. And I actually want to really hear your thoughts on who do you think is going to win. Because I know what Vegas is saying, but I want to know what you think. You got
Personally, I think Tank too little, bro.
Yo,
I think Tank too little.
I'm so glad you have a brain on your fucking shoulder.
I think Tank too little.
I said, bro.
I think Tank's too little. That's what I'm saying. At weight classes for a reason.
Davis
That weight class for a reason.
5'5", 135 pounds. Jake Paul is 6 feet, 205 pounds.
That's what I'm saying.
Bro.
He's too
6'1",
little.
205. Everybody's like, yeah, bro, but Tank it only takes one good punch. Yes, it takes one good punch when you're about the same size. There's a 60, 70 pound difference in weight in these people. I don't think nobody puts the physics in mind. Jake Paul gets punched in the face by dudes 200 pounds with all their might on a weekly basis. A 135 pound puncher, bro. If y'all remember the Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight, Conor walks around like 180 on the regular. He's like 5'9", 180. Mayweather's like 5'7", 145. That 30 pound difference, bro. If you remember that fight, Mayweather was putting mittens on Conor. Guess what happened to Conor? He didn't hit the ground once.
No.
He lasted all 12 rounds getting hit with flurries. I'm talking about Mayweather was having his time. He's being cocky with it, hitting him with all kind of combos. And we're watching the last 3 rounds of that shit like, yo, knock him out. And you know what? He could not knock him out because Conor gets punched by people that are 170, 180 pounds on a regular. And just that 20, 30 pound difference, it was like impossible for him to do anything. And that's exactly what I feel like is going to happen versus Jake.
Boxing analyst Ade Oladipo criticized the timing of this matchup, saying it's happening too early in both fighters' careers. Unlike Mayweather and Logan, who fought past their primes, Davis and Paul are still in their athletic peaks. Oladipo argued that this spectacle might derail their long-term ambitions, suggesting it would have made more sense once both had achieved more in their respective divisions.
Tank Davis fight got moved to Miami.
I think Jake wins.
Jake's just so big, dude.
I think Jake wins.
This is different because it's similar. It's similar to Logan versus Mayweather, but Jake Paul now obviously is way more advanced than where Logan was at that moment in time.
I mean,
it's fucking sick.
I mean, yeah, no, but dude,
Did
Jake.
you ever watch his highlights?
Jake can
He's
crack,
nasty.
man.
He's so sick.
I love.
At the press conference, Jake Paul confidently highlighted his physical advantages: height, reach, and power. He claimed Tank's aggressive inside style leaves gaps he can exploit with long-range shots. But Jake also admitted that beating Tank wouldn't make him an all-time great, just a step toward proving he can hang with real fighters. His tone was measured, confident but grounded.
In the world. And it's a division that includes Shakur Stevenson, a lot of young guns coming up. I'm not any more sure if it's going to include Keyshawn Davis, but it's a hot division. He's considered #1 in that division. Like, that's why I kind of find this a bit, I don't know. Like, there are challenges out there for Gervonta. There are big money fights out there for Gervonta. We want to see Gervonta in those fights. Again, I don't know how many fights people want to see AJ in, just to make the AJ Jake Paul comparison. One, as far as I'm concerned, that was Tyson Fury. I don't really have any interest in seeing an AJ in any other more fights. Whereas Gervonta Davis, I wanted and still do want to see him in so many more fights. So, yeah, it's kind of weird. These exhibition things are, like, really and truly, they should all be when your career's done. Like, when you think of Floyd versus Logan Paul, done, right? Floyd versus Conor, did he have one more after? Was that it? I can't remember. But it was right at the end. It was done right at the end, even if it wasn't, right at the end. These guys having these exhibition fights in between what is the peak of their career is kind of weird for me. Very, very weird. And then it isn't even comparable to Ngannou Fury, because at least these guys were the same size. Like, Jake Paul is a 215, 220 pound guy. I don't know what he walks around at. Gervonta fights at 135. Guessing he walks around about 155.
Jake then turned up the heat, saying if he met Tank in the streets, he'd shake him upside down. Brimming with bravado, Paul mocked Davis's power, saying Tank's knockouts came against smaller men. "He's too small to scare me," Jake said, igniting social media firestorms. While Davis stayed silent and focused, Jake kept talking, betting on size over skill. The tension between them has reached boiling point.
A lot of things, but I think first and foremost is going to just be my reach, my size, being able to keep him away. I think there's a lot of holes in his defense that a lot of people haven't exposed before, and he's a great fighter, one of the best. I'm excited. He's elevating me to a new height. He's making me push myself to my limits. I'm more locked in than ever, but at the end of the day, I know I'm going to be able to come out on top and outbox the guy who's been doing it for 7 times as long as me.
Jake just said that Tank has been boxing for 7 times as long as Jake has been boxing. They started out this press conference by saying Jake started boxing 5 years ago. So 7 times 5 is 35.
The fight's weight gap has raised serious concerns. Davis, who fights at 135 to 140 pounds, will face a man nearly 70 pounds heavier and half a foot taller. The bout is set at 195 pounds, but Jake could rehydrate to 215, while Tank might barely hit 150. Analysts are calling it a modern David versus Goliath. The last time a skillful smaller man beat such odds was David Haye defeating 7 foot, 316 pounds Nikolai Valuev in 2009, proof that skill can sometimes eclipse size.
5'8", little peon. If we were in the streets, I would grab that little ginger and smack him upside the head and make him forget who the fuck he was. People don't realize I'm a real killer. I really fucking do this shit. YouTube this, YouTube that, Disney that. This shit is not a joke. I'm knocking out the best of the best, beating all of these people time in and time again. And it's about time that you old heads and all these fucking...
In that fight, Haye used movement and timing to beat a man nearly 100 pounds heavier, a story boxing fans now draw on to justify Tank's chances. The message: if your skill is world-class, size alone won't save your opponent.
And 5'5", and I reckon his in the ring weight is somewhere around 145 to 150 pounds. Meanwhile, Jake Paul is around 6 foot. We're not quite sure. I think he says he's 6'1" or 6'2". I've heard other people saying they think he's close to 5'11", 6 foot. But the point is, he's a much, much taller man. And in the Mike Tyson fight, he was over 220 pounds. So the size difference is massive. This fight's been made at 195-pound catch weight, but after Jake's rehydrated, assuming there's no rehydration clause, which I don't believe there is, he'll probably weigh around 215 pounds in the ring. That means there's a sort of a 60 to 70-pound difference between the two men in the ring on fight night, which is absolutely enormous. There are weight classes for a reason in boxing, and this is the sort of thing that is typically not allowed or permitted. And like I said in my intro, it goes to the heart of that key question in boxing, which is how big is too big? It's the reason that the pound-for-pound list exists, where we kind of imagine if everybody was the same size, who's the best, who's number one? And it's a debate that rages on and on and on. And so when I see a fight like this, I think the hardcore boxing fans, generally speaking, have felt frustrated by it. Yes, because we want Gervonta Davis as part of the actual sport, competing for world titles against the other elite guys in his weight class. But also because if he gets knocked out and loses to Jake Paul, it creates this illusion that Jake Paul's much better than he actually is. And so I guess the question for me is, can Gervonta Davis beat Jake Paul, or will Jake Paul simply be too massive? Can Jake Paul use his size, or will Gervonta Davis simply be too skilled? What's the answer here? And in trying to answer this, I looked to history. And there's one fight that immediately popped out in my mind, and I thought, I wonder what the size difference was there. In fact, it may even be more significant. And it was, and the small guy won. Some of you might be thinking about it right now. It's when David Haye took on the monster, the absolutely ginormous human being, Nikolai Valuev. I think it took place around 2009. So at the time, I was literally a teenager. I didn't have a clue what I was looking at, and I'd fully bought into this David versus Goliath story. But I think it's an excellent example here to draw comparisons between the Gervonta Davis-Jake Paul fight to try and understand whether or not this is a good template and blueprint to try and predict and understand what the size difference might look like in the ring. Now, David Haye was 6'3" and was 217 pounds for the Valuev.
Streamer Aiden Ross insists Jake Paul will shock the world. He claims Jake's improvement and discipline have turned him into a legitimate boxer. To silence critics, Jake revealed he's passed all USADA tests, saying, no excuses. He's determined to prove that his strength and stamina are natural, and that he's ready to face an elite fighter like Davis on even ground.
This means that the weight gap was just a tiny bit under 100 pounds, which is obviously 40 pounds more, 35 pounds more than the gap between Davis and Paul. And there was a 9-inch gap in their height versus what seems to be a 7-inch height gap between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. And if you go back and watch that fight, David Haye wins it fairly comfortably. He uses his speed, his power, he moves around the outside of the ring and comprehensively outboxes Valiev, even hurting him at one point in the fight. I remember getting so excited seeing it and thinking, God, he's actually managed to wobble the Giant. This is ridiculous. And so on the surface, that was a bigger gap, a harder fight for David Haye than Gervonta Davis might find Jake Paul as an opponent. The size gap was significantly bigger. And Nikolai Valiev was a guy who won over 50 fights. You know, this was an actual competitive heavyweight boxer who'd beaten some...
Analysts agree this fight isn't just about boxing, it's a cultural event. Jake's global fame meets Tank's elite skill, creating a spectacle that blurs the line between sport and entertainment. It's not just Canelo versus Crawford levels, it's mainstream mayhem at its peak.
Who accuse me of being on steroids as the reason for winning all of my fights, we have the strictest drug testing possible for this match. U.S. Anti-Doping Agency. Random drug tests at any moment. Oh look, they're here now.
Hey, USADA, me in the car. Looking good. See if you're on steroids. Clean as a whistle, contrary to what they say.
Especially Tank been talking about retiring, so why not get the bag and then go about your business if that's your plan? I mean, if that's your plan to retire, then go get the bag and go about your business. You ain't doing nothing wrong. I'm not against it.
You got some people that are very critical of Tank. Does it make sense depending on what you're in boxing for? Because you got some people that want to fight the best. You got some people that want the accolades, the belts, you know, the undisputed. You got some people that just came into this game like, look, I'm trying to get my family out of poverty and give us generational wealth. Does it all depend on what you decided to box for?
Well, Tank accomplished a lot at a young age.
So, the question remains, will Davis's skill and power crush Jake's size and confidence, or will Jake Paul pull off the unthinkable? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this one's shaping up to be a war for the ages.